This year's pageant centerpiece, Tunes of Glory, is a cavalcade of wartime songs and music from 1900 to 1945, concluding with Laurie Johnson's battle pageant music.
Tunes of Glory commences with songs our grandfathers sang at the time of the relief of Kimberley in 1900, followed by the music of Kitchener's contemptible little army of 1914, and finally Churchill's valiant years of the Second World War from 1939 to 1945.
So now we bring you the massive music of over 1,500 musicians from 52 bands, pipes and corps of drums, who will be conducted by Lieutenant Colonel Trevor Sharp, Director of Music, the Royal Military School of Music, Nella Hall, and who is the Senior Director of Music of the British Army and the musical director of this pageant. For many years prior to 1899, peace and prosperity had ruled in Britain. The empire had continued to expand, and in spite of many ill omens from abroad, there appeared to be no cloud on the horizon.
This was in the days before motor cars, when apart from the railways, the only other means of transport were the horse and the bicycle. The parson and the doctor made their rounds on horseback or with the pony and trap, whilst the streets of London were filled with horse-drawn buses and hansom cabs.
The South African War, which lasted from 1899 until 1902, involved 450,000 regular soldiers, volunteers and Dominion forces in warfare on a scale which the British had not experienced since the Napoleonic period. This was a new style of war, of movement.
And as the style of warfare changed, so too did the music of the bands. As the British Army marched into the 20th century, the regular army and the hastily recruited volunteers embarked for South Africa amidst patriotic demonstrations and immense public enthusiasm, led by their bands playing the popular music hall songs of the day.
The South Africa War was to be only a mild prelude to the two world wars which were to follow. The Great War of 1914-1918, instead of being fought by a comparatively small force in a distant land, involved every man, woman and child at home as well. There were to be 4 long years of courage, tragedy and near disaster before victory was finally won.
It was to the strains of Tipperary that the British Expeditionary Force marched from their billets to the front line in France and Belgium, and is perhaps the best remembered British marching song of the First World War. Following the First Great War, there was much talk of European wars being a thing of the past, just as there was after Waterloo and just as there is today. But in 1939, the world was to go through it all again. Once again, the British Expeditionary Force crossed the Channel to France. Troops abroad and factory workers at home now cheerfully sang "Roll Out the Barrel," and a new and stirring song of defiance, "There'll Always Be an England," as we move on now to the music of the Second World War.
There were many initial setbacks and disasters, until at last the tide of battle turned in favor of the Allies, with the 8th Army's famous desert victory at El Alamein, where the pipers of the 51st Highland Division played as infantry and armor surged forward through the dust and the din to attack General Rommel's Africa Corps.
Here too, you can see we've got the long-range desert group with us.
victory call sign echoed around Europe on the radio sets of the resistance fighters, the great Allied invasion of Normandy was soon followed by the advance of Burma's forgotten army, whose epic struggle is immortalized by the famous River Kwai March.
And so the music of the Second World War concludes with the theme music of the Valiant Years, paying a fitting tribute to Winston Churchill, the architect of victory in 1945, who faithfully and courageously served his country through the 3 wars and many valiant years which we've recalled this evening.